not been to Minnesota in probably 20 years.
Bring gas. Welcome to Flagrant Howls, a Minnesota Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.
Hey, well, this is take two for us. You guys wouldn't know that, but we literally just did a 40-minute Giannis trade hypothetical episode. The first ever episode here on the brand new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. If you can click that like button and the subscribe button, you can help us keep growing this awesome community of Timberwolves fans, of Flagrant Howls viewers. The Apple and Spotify experience will not change at all whatsoever. But we salvaged I think it was 17 minutes of some Giannis hypothetical trade stuff here. So we're gonna run that for you here, and then we'll jump back in, and I will finish laying out the trade scenarios that were concocted in my own brain with a glass of wine or maybe two. So here we are, Flagrant Howls. Let's jump into the salvaged Giannis Timberwolves trade hypotheticals. I know there's only it's like a pipe dream. There's only a minuscule chance, but Tim Connolly has been the godfather of massive trades that nobody saw coming. And there was a prominent Hall of Fame, official Hall of Fame. Is Paul Pierce in the Hall of Fame? I think he's in the Hall of Fame. If not, he'll be in the Hall of Fame at some point. They put everyone in the Hall of Fame. Who caused a stir last week. So we'll get to latest Wolves news, the Giannis stuff. I went through an exercise of trying to concoct a Giannis trade, and it started with just like the Wolves and the Bucks, and then it spiraled into a 5-team trade.
How long did this take?
Hours.
Your poor wife's probably like, hey, let's watch a movie. Sorry, honey.
My wife's like sleeping in bed on Saturday, and I'm just like grinding through.
Phil, you're still up? 3 a.m. I've almost got the trade.
So I'll reveal these to you guys, and you guys can laugh at them. We can pick them apart, but let's have some fun with it. If you're new here, which I think most people are, unless you're one of the 2,000 people that click subscribe before we posted an episode, thank you for helping us grow this brand new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. Click that like button and the subscribe button, and let's continue to grow this incredible community of Timberwolves fans. On the audio side, Apple, Spotify, nothing changes for your experience. Please give us a 5-star rating and a positive review. And before we get to latest Wolves news here, Judd, a shout out to Neos Elite Performance. If you're an elderly basketball player looking to feel like you did back in the day, maybe Neos Elite Performance can help you, Katie. I mean, anyone.
Absolutely can. Yes. If you are an aging athlete, heck, you know what? If you're a former weekend warrior and these days it hurts too much, let's say, to play basketball or golf, Neos Elite Performance is going to help you get back on the court, on the course. They bring you cutting-edge regenerative medicine and cellular IV therapy designed to get you going again. And here's the best part. No invasive procedures delivered to your home. So they're going to come to you. No trips to the doctors, no trips to the hospital. No. The experts at Neos are going to come to you, and they're going to take away that knee or back pain. They're going to restore your function. They're going to get you doing, most importantly, what you love again. Also, if you reference our flagship show, Purple Daily, you're going to get $500 off. That's right, $500 off a cellular IV therapy treatment. No surgery, no downtime, just results, which is what you want. NeosElite.com. NEOS Elite.com. Get back in the game of life.
It's the latest Timberwolves news. Damn right it is. All right. A few days ago, Paul Pierce caused a stir when he went on his Fox Sports 1 show, Speak, and had this to say. The first 5 seconds are people shouting over each other, and then Paul Pierce gets the talking.
This is Halliburton's team.
If I'm not if Giannis goes there, though. Not if Giannis goes there. Let me tell you what makes the most sense. No, Minnesota makes the most sense for him. You pair him with Ant-Man, give us some of them young pieces that they got over there.
What you gonna move? You gonna move DiVincenzo again? You gonna move you gonna move Julius Randle again, McDaniels again?
Yep.
Then you gonna be depleting the roster.
I got 3-year window though.
Yeah, but you depleting the roster.
I got a 3-year window with Giannis and Ant-Man though. I'll take that.
I love the other guy, like Keyshawn, trying to figure out like who's on that team. It's Julius, right? Jaden, is that his name? I'm not sure.
Yeah, Keyshawn talking basketball, like personnel of teams, is a little bit sketchy.
So Paul Pierce caused a stir with that many people saw last week. Also, I'll throw this out there. Jake Fisher, formerly of Yahoo, now with Mark Stein's Substack platform, he is very, very plugged in and very skeptical that Giannis will be traded. So He says the Giannis requesting a trade stuff from the Bucks has, quote, significantly stalled. The common belief among league insiders is that Giannis will remain with the only franchise he's ever played for. Now, of course, if you're the Bucks, they're going to say that because if they're going to trade him, they want as much as possible in terms of talent or draft picks or whatever it is. So
yes.
Before I show you some of the late night iterations here from the brain of old Mac,
what a geek, what a loser.
I want to run through some parameters of what this would have to look like if Tim Connelly picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Milwaukee, let's dance. Let's talk here. Let's speculate recklessly on what this would look like." So number one, in order to fulfill the NBA's salary matching rules, the Timberwolves would have to send out, because Giannis makes like $54.5 million, the Wolves would have to send out around $43 million. Oof. But they've got, like, Rudy's is a $35 million chunk. Julius Randle on an opt-in is like a $31 million chunk. Jaden McDaniels, who we can talk more about, is a $26 million chunk. So, it's funny that they actually have, in terms of, like, sometimes just finding the pieces to send over to somebody can be hard. I don't think that's a problem really for the Wolves. They could cobble together a Conley $10 million chunk if they needed to, or a DiVincenzo $11 million chunk. So they've got the chunks there. The biggest factors here are going to be what value can the Wolves offer the Bucks to equal Giannis, with other teams also pounding on that door. And then if they make a trade, do they still have enough of a roster around Anthony Edwards and Giannis to compete for a championship? Because teams with depth, as you're seeing with OKC, Boston for these last few years, and Indiana in the finals right now, tied up at 1. You can't just have, with the new CBA, you can't just have two really good players and a bunch of scrubs, right? So what would the Wolves need to offer that's appealing enough to the Bucks, knowing that they don't have a bunch of tradable first-round draft picks, because a lot of those are still tied up in that Rudy Gobert trade from a few years ago, for a guy in Giannis that's still one of the 3 to 5 best players in the NBA. I mean, he is still perennially in the MVP hunt. He's 30 years old. He's in his prime. So the Wolves draft pick stash is limited. They have the 17 and the 31 this year. So those are two good picks. But there's a bunch of other teams that might be interested in trading that have more and or better draft picks higher up in the lottery, or 4 different first-round picks that might be available for a trade. So you can't just come to the Bucks and say, how do you feel about the 17th pick in the 2025 draft and maybe some pick swaps, and we'll give you the first pick in the second round. It would almost have to center around Jaden McDaniels and some other young player on the team that they would look at and say, okay, that could, like Rob Dillingham, if they think he's a former top 10 pick, right? Terrence Shannon Jr. is a first rounder that really came into his own at times when he was given playing time. So, like, who are the young high upside players in addition to whatever draft compensation you can cobble together that you would send to the Bucks? And then in terms of salary matching, like, you'd probably have to send out a Rudy and or a Julius. And would the Bucks view that as like, yeah, we would take that veteran player for a year? Or would you get a third team involved? Hey, Julius Randle is valuable because you can then spin him to a team for a first-round draft pick, or Rudy to a team for a couple pieces. So let's just start there. Is Jaden McDaniels as the centerpiece of a trade to Milwaukee with some picks, maybe a Dillingham, is that enough to keep the conversation going, do you think?
It's a really interesting question, because it's funny, because in most trades, if you're the Timberwolves, Jaden is damn near untouchable. But like when we're talking about Giannis and like what the Bucks would want back, it's like, is that enough? And I think in this case, that's a fair question. Like, it's not like, well, the Bucks don't get it. No, like, they're trading a superstar player. So I think if you're Tim Connelly and you were to explore this, you would have to go in thinking that the answer is yes. It might not be, but at the end of the day, it's the best that you have to offer. Like, there's no other you can't give me another draft pick or another name that's going to be like, okay, that would be enough. So I think by offering Jaden as the starting point of the trade, you are offering what you consider to be a piece of gold. The Bucks might say no, but I think it's what you have to go in with.
Because part of the idea is Jaden, when given space to explore as an offensive player, when he becomes like the second option on your team, as opposed to the fourth option, that he'd be more than the 12.5 points a game guy. Like, is there a 20-point efficient scorer?
Correct.
Who's also elite? Is there a diet Kawhi Leonard in there, as I keep calling him the last few
And
years?
he's been that at times.
And could he be that if given 20 shots a game, 11 for 20, 24 points a game? Like, is that guy in there? So it would essentially be, you'd sell them on Jaden as a centerpiece, Dillingham as a top 10 overall pick that you moved up to go get as an initiator who makes almost no money, the 17, the 31, and then could you get in a 3-team trade? Hey, we'll give you Randall or Gobert. Could you spin one of those guys off for a couple salary fillers? Could you get a first-round pick for one of those guys from like Miami or something else? Because there's value in a couple players that helped you get to the Western Conference Finals. So I don't know, like, are you hanging up if you're Milwaukee, Dex? And Tim Connolly says, Jaden McDaniels, huh? You like Jaden McDaniels, don't you?
I don't know if Jaden McDaniels is the reason they would trade, but on the counterpart, I don't think the Wolves can trade for Giannis without giving up Jaden McDaniels. So
Yeah.
from Milwaukee's side, they might just say, no, thank you. But if you're the Wolves and you want to make this happen, I don't think there's a world where Jaden McDaniels is on the Wolves still if you acquire Giannis.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had like 4 tradable first-round picks, it might be a different story. But, that was actually part of the conversation with Utah a few years ago, is Utah wanted Jaden, and the Wolves just kept throwing in first-round picks. And they said, we'd literally rather give you 4 first-round picks and like 4 pick swaps and keep Jaden McDaniels. And that's that decision by the Wolves is part of the reason why they went to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. And so the other thing to keep in mind is, let's say they do say yes. Let's say it's, all right, they love Jaden. They love Dillingham or like Terrence Shannon Jr., and they think they could get a first-round pick from a third team for a Julius or a Gobert. So they wind up with 2 first-round picks, the 31st pick, and a couple really high-end talented young players, and maybe a couple other little assets they could spin off, right? Well, you'd have to make sure that you can put enough of a team around Giannis and Anthony Edwards. And I was looking at the Bucks blueprint from 4 years ago when they won the championship. It was Giannis, who's a great rim protector and defender, but also this incredible close range and mid-range offensive force. And they just put a bunch of shot makers and switchable defenders around him. Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, DiVincenzo was a starter on that team before he got hurt in the playoffs. Pat Connaughton, who was a better player 4 years ago than he is now. Brooke Lopez, who can stretch and shoot shots as a 7-footer. Bobby Portis, PJ Tucker. So it was like Giannis and then guys who could shoot, because he's not a great shooter, but if you can space around him and give him room to operate. So that's why I almost feel like if you're going to do this, Rudy, whether he goes to Milwaukee or somewhere else, I don't think you can play Giannis and Rudy together and then tell Anthony Edwards to figure it out. Like, it would have to be Giannis as the one that doesn't shoot well, with like Naz Reid next to Giannis as your front court, with Ant, DiVincenzo, and some combination of like Terrence Shannon Jr. and guys who can space.
In this trade, what sort of cap room, if you're the Wolves, would you have still? Because I think an important point is this. If you offered a free agent the opportunity to come here and play with Ant and Giannis, I think you'd have a lot of guys probably willing to take a little bit less to play here. Yeah. Like that's a pretty damn attractive, hey, come play with these 2 superstar players. So I do think that if you had sufficient cap space, I don't think filling out the roster would be like a huge problem.
Reckless speculation.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Judd, because
who is staying up nights, workshopping this? Who can we find, Declan?
That's insane.
So again, to reiterate, this is highly, highly reckless speculation here. There is a very, very minuscule chance that anything like this would ever come to fruition. But damn it, Tim Connolly calls on everything and everybody. We know that to be true. And Paul Pierce is out there on national television floating this Giannis to Minnesota stuff. So let's try to manifest this, see what it looked like. So this is the first iteration. This is as simply as you can create this. It's Bucks dealing with Timberwolves, and the YouTube audience can see this. It is Timberwolves getting Giannis, and then also Pat Connaughton, who has a player option for like $9.5 million as kind of just a bench guy. He can still knock down a few shots here and there. I feel like his play has kind of decreased over the last 2 or 3 years. And then Chris Livingston is kind of a young wing player, $2.5 million-ish, just to balance out the cap sheet. And you would be sending to Milwaukee Jaden McDaniels, Rob Dillingham, your 17th overall pick via Detroit, and then the 31st overall pick via Utah from this year's draft, and Rudy Gobert. And I think and I'll build off this, but I think there's an argument to be made then that the Bucks would turn around, get a third team involved, and shop Gobert for maybe a first-round pick and something else so that they could wind up with 2 really good young players in Jaden and Dillingham, 2 first-round picks, and the first pick in the second round. So again, they might laugh at this and say no, but this is kind of the best that the Timberwolves can do. They could maybe throw in Terrence Shannon Jr. as well, like a Leonard Miller or somebody. But it's not like the Wolves, again, they don't have a treasure trove of tradable first-round picks. So you'd have to the Bucks would have to love Jaden McDaniels for this to be a viable conversation. And to Judd's question, you'd basically break even in terms of salary in, salary out. So you'd still have access to your mid-level exception of $14.1 million to go get an outside free agent or multiple guys that would cobble together. You could go get Brook Lopez, who's a free agent center, 37 years old, but can still play. Go get a Tyus Jones to come in and just be an organizer of offense. So this is the simplest iteration. It's just one team trading with another team here, and Giannis going to the Timberwolves. So you'd be left with, now Julius Randle would be left over. So would you then try to facilitate a move? Because I don't know if you can bring Giannis in and also keep Naz and Randle unless Naz is once again comfortable coming off the bench, because he's not starting in that case unless you want to play him at the 3, or Giannis is playing at the 3. You'd have to figure that out. But that's the first iteration.
So that in my best car sales analogy, you need to be concerned with the out-the-door price. Don't worry about monthly payment right now. In fact, that gets you in trouble. Don't do that. You need to figure out what's the out-the-door price. And the Timberwolves are saying, here is my out-the-door. Here's what I'm willing to pay for the out-the-door price. I think the Bucks are saying, you still need to cough up this amount or to get to this amount before we even have pen to paper. But I think this is as good as the Wolves can probably offer if it's just Milwaukee and Minnesota without a third team involved.
My first thought is this. This is a nice trade, but this probably took you 15 minutes to do. So I want to move on to the multi-team trades, which I think are so much more fun. And by the way, if this was to happen, I think the multi-team trades are correct.
Okay.
So
yeah, I agree.
More guy goes from here to here to here. So.
Okay, so here is the 4-team trade. We've gone from 2 teams to 4 teams, and I have another one for you as well, so stay buckled up here. In this iteration, the Timberwolves would get Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Bucks. They would get Austin Reeves from the Lakers and also some salary fillers in Gabe Vincent, just a backup point guard, and Maxi Kleber, just like a 6'11" big man body that can come off the bench. Or not, whatever. And then heading out from the Timberwolves in this 4-team iteration would be Jaden McDaniels to the Bucks, Rudy Gobert to the Lakers, along with Josh Minott for salary purposes and some value. And the Heat would get Julius Randle. There's been some rumors there, so we're just gonna go along with the reckless speculation in Heatville. Also going out from the Timberwolves in this scenario, Leonard Miller to the Bucks, although I think it probably has to wind up being Dillingham. I think my guess is they would value Dillingham at a higher level.
Agreed.
We're just spitballing here, just workshopping. And then the Wolves would also send out the 17th overall pick from Detroit and the 31st overall pick via Utah to the Bucks. The Bucks, as part of this, would be like they'd be spinning Julius Randle to the Heat for a first-round pick. the Warriors' first round pick this year, the number 20, and then a couple contract fillers in Duncan Robinson and old friend Kyle Anderson. So the Bucks would wind up with, essentially for Giannis, they'd wind up with Jaden McDaniels and let's say Rob Dillingham or like one of the Wolves' young high upside players. Mm-hmm. 2 first-round picks, the first pick in the second round, and then a couple of just bench filler guys. Like Duncan Robinson can play a little bit, but just some fillers for salary purposes. So you would reset and Austin Reeves coming over here. So this is a complete overhaul, obviously. You'd have Anthony Edwards, Austin Reeves in the backcourt. Neither one of them is really a point guard, but they can both kind of handle it. Giannis, I think you bring Naz Reid back, and then you'd still have like Terrence Shannon Jr., Jalen Clark, some other little pieces here, along with the $14.1 million mid-level exception that you could spend up to like the second apron. You'd be kind of within range of the second apron in that instance. So we gotten a little crazier here with this 4-team iteration.
I think where this actually makes more sense, though, than your first trade is I don't see any way that Gobert and Randall aren't both involved.
Yeah.
In some type of trade here. So, like, I don't see you making a trade for Giannis and you trade Gobert in a 2-team trade, but you still have Julius, because Julius is akin to, as you point out here, a draft pick. So, like, you don't have enough draft pick compensation to probably make or to certainly make the Bucks happy, right? So, like, you got to find a way to siphon them somehow another first-round pick. In this case, it's Julius. So I think going out in this case, it makes more sense for the amount of guys. And I'm with you. I think Dillingham gets traded for sure as well. But Julius being traded, Gobert being traded, McDaniels being traded, I think all would have to happen if you're going to wind up with Giannis.
Now, this, of course, would be if you thought the Wolves gutted a 46-win playoff roster 3 years ago with the Gobert trade. And then if you thought they gutted a Western Conference Finals core by trading Cat for Julius and DiVincenzo, you would be much more gutting back-to-back Western Conference Finals teams here by sending out Jaden, Gobert, and Randall, and then the other young assets or picks. I mean, this would be a total overhaul of a team that went to back-to-back Western Conference Finals. So, you know, it would, of all the crazy things Tim Connolly has done, this would obviously be number one on the crazy list.
It feels though too like trades that would benefit everyone here too. Like everyone gets a piece of this, and I don't know if you can do, to our point earlier, I don't know if you can just do the straight 1-for-1 Milwaukee, Minnesota trade partners. Even though this gets complicated with 4 teams involved and like basically a dozen assets or so with draft picks, this feels like a path where everyone kind of wins in this trade.
Yeah, because like, I don't know, this is just a bunch of idiots on microphones playing, courtesy of fanspo.com playing armchair GM. But yeah, like obviously the Timberwolves get Giannis and Austin Reeves here in this scenario. But there's like, I'm trying to root this in reality to some extent. Obviously, like the Lakers, there's been some rumblings that, hey, it's nice to have Austin Reeves, but we need some big bodies that can sit up there and protect the rim, protect Luka on defense, catch lobs from Luka. That's what he had back in Dallas. So let LeBron and Luka be the initiators of offense, and maybe a little bit of, maybe there's another tweak they can make here there, and use Austin Reeves as leverage to go get that rim protector in Gobert. Now there's other, like Nick Claxton, there's some other guys out there that they could hunt for. The Heat, okay, we're kind of in a weird spot here franchise-wise. Let's go add another piece to the puzzle. There's been some Julius Randle rumors there in the past. Tyler Hero, Julius Randle makes some sense. And obviously in any iteration of these Wolves-Bucks hypotheticals, Jaden McDaniels has to be viewed as kind of a centerpiece figure by Milwaukee. If they don't, then this conversation essentially doesn't leave the first 30 seconds.
Right. So here's my question, because I think we all agree Jaden McDaniels has to be involved. How much trepidation do you have about trading him? Because on Gobert and Randall, I'm actually fine. But as far as taking Jaden, who would need to be in a Giannis trade, off your roster, if you're the Wolves and Tim Connolly, how much reluctance would you have to part with him?
Yeah, a lot, because the glimpses you saw of him, we've seen it as a defender throughout the years. Like, we see how athletic he is. But what you saw from him for a 2-month stretch in the middle of the second half of the season was the diet Kawhi Leonard that we've kind of joked about for the last 2 or 3 years. A guy that was averaging 18, 19 points a game on high efficiency, 52% from the field, and grabbing rebounds. He was a double-double every other night. He can score from all 3 levels. Not a great three-point shooter, but he's like a league average three-point shooter who can get hot. Mm-hmm. Great mid-range game, and one of the best rim converters on the team, transition players. So, like, if you unleash him and empower him to not just stand in the corner offensively, which, like, if a trade like this went down, the Bucks would say, all right, dude, you're not going to be the best player on the team, but you have free reign to go be like the long term, like the second best guy. Yes. A guy that's like, you have free reign to shoot the ball 18 to 20 times within the flow of the offense. If the Wolves do that, I think there's a much better, higher level version of Jaden, but it requires him being higher up in the pecking order than he's been here. Like, you'd have to clear out Julius Randle, I think, to make that happen, which maybe they wind up just doing this with some marginal tweaks versus a complete overhaul of their roster, like we are laying out here in these last 2 trade iterations. I do have a third one for you guys that involves a 5th team.
Reckless speculation.
That's right. This is going to get
what
even
bottle
drunker.
Of wine is this?
Oh yeah, how many glasses of wine? Yeah, exactly.
It could be a whole bottle right here.
So I'll throw that at you here in a moment. A shout out to Safeside Barbecue, Judd, helping us speculate recklessly.
Yes, and we certainly appreciate that. The best barbecue food truck in the West Metro. I'm talking about Safeside. You are about to see, if you are watching this, some fresh brisket cut to order. Absolutely fantastic. 100% wood-fired smoking for juicy, savory, tender meat. No electric smokers or ovens are used. Everything is homemade. Bread is made to order for your sandwiches. Outstanding. Absolutely delicious. Just find them at SafesideBBQ.com and on Facebook for where they're going to be. As far as the food truck goes, too, if you go to a location that has Safeside's outstanding food, you do not need to stay there. You can take it home, but you are going to absolutely love it. So, again, SafesideBBQ.com or Facebook to find out where they are going to be.
And when the takes and speculation get hot, that's where MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning can cool things down.
Oh, and how about this? Right now, book a $49 AC tune-up and get a BOGO air quality bundle, a pristine electronic air cleaner, and a UV light for the price of one. Family-owned and operated. They've been doing this for years. I'm going to tell you, they've been to my house. They are absolutely outstanding. Also, ask about the Total Comfort Club membership in that, because there is nothing more important than having a peace of mind for the safety of your home, not to mention the comfort. Call MSP at 651-615-4292, and also check out their website, callmsp.com. That's callmsp.com.
All right. Here's the third one.
Reckless speculation.
I think this is about as many teams as we can fit on the screen here. 5 teams. There you go.
A little better.
Wow.
So I figured, all right, well, we got 4 teams to work. Most of these trades that involve high-level superstars involve 3, 4, maybe 5 teams. Let's push it to a 5th team, the Chicago Bulls. So in this iteration, the Timberwolves would get Giannis. They would also get from the Chicago Bulls Kobe White, combo guard, 20-point scorer, good 3-point shooter, just that running mate in the backcourt next to Anthony Edwards. I could see the Bulls for sure wanting to shake up kind of a stagnant organization. Mm-hmm. Hell, if there was some smaller deal or some iteration that sent Lonzo Ball to the Timberwolves, I'm a Lonzo Ball stan, even though he's been out for most of the last 3 years with injuries. He came back last season, still a 27-year-old player. But in this, so it's Giannis, it's White, and then it's some salary fillers here in Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Pat Connaughton, and Livingston, all who we've talked about in the first 2 iterations. The Bucks would get Jaden McDaniels. I'll go through the Timberwolves sending out again here. McDaniels and Dillingham to the Bucks, along with first-round pick, second-round pick. Gobert and Minot to the Lakers again. Randall to the Heat, just like we talked about. So you'd literally be overhauling more than half of your rotation in this case, or half of it. But in this version, the Lakers send out Reeves to the Bulls, who route White to the Timberwolves. White, a little bit more of a point guard profile than maybe Reeves. Both are kind of combo guards. And White's pretty big, by the way. He's like 6'4", 6'5". I don't know if that counts the flow up top.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic.
But you'd have a starting lineup of Ant and Kobe White in the backcourt, Giannis and I think Naz Reid, and then I don't know, like Terrence Shannon Jr., Clark. You'd have to kind of figure that out. I don't think any of these peripheral guys would start for you. Like Gabe Vincent would be a backup point guard. Connaughton could come off the bench, etc. So there's your 5-team iteration of what this could potentially look like.
This trade is absolutely drunk, no question about it. Absolutely drunk. I love it, but it's really, really drunk. So here's my question then, to circle back to something that we talked about at the top of the show. So the Wolves then would have, with this, their mid-level exception still available, correct?
Yes.
Because I think you could get, I think that's where you might go after some more help. And if you were to have this roster, I don't think it would be really hard to find it.
Yeah, I mean, you would still have, because you would have the cap impact. You'd only be taking on like $1.5 million versus what you're sending out.
Okay.
So you'd literally be trading like $200 million worth of contracts, and it basically evens out.
Okay.
And so I believe in that case, you'd still be a little bit below the first apron, which means you'd have access to the $14.1 million mid-level exception to get whatever, another big.
How tough is this to execute while drinking?
I'm about to say.
Not as tough as you would think. Fanspo.com, which has zero affiliation with us or anything, makes it very easy to just concoct your own scenarios.
Phil actually just started adding teams for every glass of wine he has.
Is that what? Okay.
Right, yeah,
Just,
that's
just another glass and another team.
Let's do the Nets now.
Let's do the Nets.
Your poor wife's like,
How about
no,
the
go to
Knicks?
bed before you do the
No.
Nets.
Stop doing trades, you idiot. What are you doing here?
Reckless speculation.
So what's fun? I mean, this is all just a little fun, reckless speculation among friends here, but I told Judd this off microphone. Tim Connolly has someone in that building working on Giannis iterations.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, go spend 72 hours. Give me 15 different potential iterations and let me pick up the phone and make this phone call and see what happens.
Absolutely. I guarantee you, he has guys working on Giannis trades that don't involve his team.
Yeah.
Like, what could the Spurs do? Right? Like what could like 4 teams do? He goes, my guess is privately, reckless speculation wise, he goes to a place we don't go.
A dark
place.
Dark place.
A dark place. But yeah, I think he is. I think he would make our reckless speculation look cute and trivial.
Yeah. No, I think it is funny. Like, that would never happen. Never. It never happened. I mean, he's uprooted this organization twice.
Yep.
I think the obvious roadblock here would be the 5 other teams or whatever with more draft capital or just like higher draft picks that the Bucks would lean into if they decided to make a move on Giannis.
I think the Gobert trade, which by the way did improve your team a lot, but I think that was the shot, right? Like as far as the picks go, because like you kept adding first round picks. So it feels like you're probably going to need a couple more years to be in a place to trade picks again to pull off a trade like that.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know. Hit us up on the brand new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel, that comment section. Roast me however you want or add to this. It's funny. We actually, as part of the first shot at recording this before technology failed us, we did do some updates on the latest Kevin Durant reporting. We were going to maybe get to the Chris Finch Knicks steam that came out. There was some interesting reporting on that like late last week. Mm-hmm. We'll do that either tomorrow or Wednesday on Flagrant Howls. We'll hit some of the other, there might even be more advancements in the Durant reporting between now and when we hit record tomorrow. So plenty. It is reckless speculation season, full form here in the NBA.
Reckless speculation.
And we embrace it and have you covered here on Flagrant Howls. So for the sports dad, For Dex, I am Phil. Thank you for joining this brand new Flagrant Howls YouTube channel. Again, nothing changes on Apple and Spotify, but we're pumped for the next 5 or 6 weeks. And we'll see you guys very soon here. Flagrant Howls, a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.